Ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi o, bàbá ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi. Ìbànújẹ́ o, jẹ́ kó jìnnà sí ilé mi. Wàá múnú mi dùn, bàbá onílé ayọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayọ̀ mi, má jẹ́ kó pa mí lẹ́kún. Ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi o, bàbá ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi. Ìbànújẹ́ o, jẹ́ kó jìnnà sí ilé mi. Wàá múnú mi dùn, bàbá onílé ayọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayọ̀ mi, má jẹ́ kó pa mí lẹ́kún. Àmín. Good morning, it's Mojisola Wilson, and welcome to Authentic Conversations, where we have great conversations in the hopes of transforming our lives. My name is Mojisola Wilson, and yeah, today is, I don't even know, the days are just mashing into one. I guess the older you get, the less aware of time that you are. So, it's been an amazing journey. You guys already know that. And now I only come to the table when I have something really important to say. Life is lifing for a lot of us. And sometimes life can be very confusing, and I get it. Because, if you're my age, we were told to become mothers, get an education, become a great mother, and just our lives as women is absolutely dedicated to family and our children. But as time went on, right, um, we realize now that we as human female do really have a right to have our own life. And we also have a right to self actualize. What I've been getting a lot of calls on lately, though, has been the fact that a lot of us immigrant mothers, and maybe some that are natives as well, are going through the same thing, where came, for us that are immigrants, we came to this country with the hopes of creating a better life for us, right? Ourselves. But it's really about creating a better life for the future generation, our children, in the hopes that their lives will be a lot easier than ours. You have to understand that we're battling misogyny all across the world. We're battling patriarchy all across the world. So when women are told that they have to have children, or when women believe that without sacrificing their lives for their children, they're not good people, they're not good human, they're nothing unless their children succeed. See, I'm not going to tell you I'm a great parent because I know I'm not, but I did the best I could. Now, as an immigrant that came here at a very young age, I was exposed to the European style of parenting, but the Nigerian programming never actually ever left me. So, it was a tug of war between tradition and American culture. That's Moji. What I realized also is that a lot of us that came from elsewhere, we didn't catch on with the white woman who had been fighting for freedom, women's rights in the 60s and the 50s, and the turn actually came in the 70s, right? Freedom to one's body, freedom to one's choice of partner, freedom to a lot of things. We came from Nigeria. I came from Nigeria, where my father and my family and society expects you to be married by the time you're 22. So if you're 25, 26, you're considered left over, right? But a lot of us came to this country with dreams and hopes of becoming something, right? But as we start to have children, what I realize is that because we came from a place with nothing, we thought, and if it's not your story, that's okay. Leave me a comment in the comment section, or even request to come in, and I'll put in the link for you to come in. But a lot of us, for some reason, we have this idea, or we had this mindset that we're supposed to be the sacrificial lamb for our children, and our worth is built into our children. So a lot of my friends, while raising children, forgot to get their masters, they forgot to get their PhDs, or they forgot to start their business, or they forgot to do whatever it is that they always wanted to do. Put it on the backside, because when you're an immigrant, you don't really understand the system for quite a minute, right? As you're getting acclimated to the setup and the settings here, what usually happens is that In the back of our heads, we have that gnawing thing telling us you're a woman, you shouldn't really be doing this. So you find that our men, and I'm a lesbian, just so you guys understand, and I've been on both sides of the coin, we find that we lift up the men and we put our, 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 our dreams and hopes, we put them on the side. A lot of Nigerian women do this, where the husband goes out and gets their masters, and the wives who have a master's, who have a college degree before they even came here, yada, yada, yada. They put all their dreams and aspirations to the backside. And I could never, ever, ever understand that, because at the end of the day, right? If you don't self-actualize, at least now I know that. It's not like I woke up one morning and I was born with this information. Experience taught me that if you are not happy as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, from the inside, it's going to be difficult to make your family happy. It's going to be hard to create a very safe environment for your children, because there's a sense of resentment that a lot of us have. Now, I also belong to a secret group on Facebook. I'm not going to deny it, which is why I'm here. I read a story about a Nigerian woman that came from Nigeria, and she was it was an arranged marriage of some sort between her family and her husband. Excuse me for a second. I have to call you back. Sorry. So, anyways, two phones, businesses, everything going. So don't mind me. Anyways, so bottom line is that a lot of us did not realize that we had a right to be. And I'll explain what I mean. In this secret group on Facebook that I belong to, which is a lot of mothers, single mothers, and you're asking me, why are you in a single mothers group? I've been there for many, many years, because that's where I could just go and spill a lot of things. And sometimes I would spill it on my Facebook page, but I like to listen and read. And it helped me to realize that I'm not the only one going through this, right? So one of the ladies in the single parent group, Nigerian, wrote about the fact that her mother was educated, gave up her career for them. Her mother stayed home, watched over the kids. When she came to America, she came with her husband, and unfortunately, fortunately, the husband decided to get his master's, so she held down the home front. And he went and got educated, got his master's degree, got a great job. He's an engineer, and he got his master's in whatever, and then whatever. The guy has like 4 degrees. So this lady, I now call her my friend because I called her on the phone and we chatted. So my friend, my Facebook friend, now tells me that in the meantime, she had already graduated with a business administration degree in Nigeria. As you know, today, the first degree is nothing. If you don't have a master's or something else to back it up, an MBA or something, you're not competitive in the job market. So she took the time out to stay home with the kids, and she did side businesses, right? And now the kids are grown. She spent all her time, all her money, all her energy on raising her children. See, part of the problem, right, is that we forget that children are not children once they hit a certain age. They start, and I hope to God that's what we all want. Children that become people, productive citizens. But here's the problem. We're not equipping them with the tools to become productive, compassionate, empathetic citizens like me. And now we're all worried and crying that we gave everything up. Nobody asked you, first of all, which is why I'm sitting here. And if you want to get upset, please feel free to, and type your comments in the comment section. Nobody asked you to give up your career. You did, because you thought it was the right thing to do. So this Facebook friend said she gave up her career. She stayed home and worked. She did homework with the kids while her husband was building his career, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Number one point. While your husband is building himself up and you have decided to give up your existence to the family, the children are growing, they're going this way, your husband is going this way, or your partner, if you're a lesbian. We don't usually have those problems, but your husband, let me stay in the heterosexual world. Your husband is going up, your children are going up, you're stagnant. How many issues that the children do not respect her? And then the husband left her for a woman that's much more educated than she is. So now she's a single mother. There's no such thing as single mother, by the way. It's a woman that's separated from her husband, because nobody makes children by themselves. So I really don't believe. And this idea I got from my wife. One day we were talking. Margaret is like, "Why do people call yourself single mothers?" And I'm like, "Well, because we're single and we're raising kids." She's like, "Well, you're not single and raising. You're single, yeah, but you have a co-parent. Now, if you choose to allow the co-parent to co-parent with you, or if you choose to be the superwoman that I was taught, Black power, women power, we could do it all by ourselves. Now, lie, nobody can do it by themselves. You can do it, not, you don't have to do it with a co-parent, but you need somebody else's eyes to look at pictures, to be able to see things. Because sometimes I see apples, like I'm looking at the picture behind me, I see a saxophone, somebody else might see a stick, right? So we need two different lenses when we're raising children, but we forget that because we've been told we could do it all on our own. The thing is, nobody can do everything by themselves. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot. And what I'm finding is that a lot of women are sacrificing themselves. And then when the children are getting older, the children now have this sense of arrogance because they're better than the parents, they're better than the mother. So unless you have taught them to be compassionate by giving them responsibilities, by making sure they earn what they get. But if you're the doormat and you're buying your children everything, they don't understand the value of a dollar. They don't even see your value. If you make them work for the things they have, I'm saying make them get jobs when they're younger. They will understand the value. $10 an hour is the minimum wage in America. I used to buy $300 sneakers for my children at one point, right? Until life happened to me. And then I had to really do a rethink of my life. But if your child is wearing a $300 pair of sneakers and minimum wage is $10 an hour, and you tell that child to go get a job, trust me, their mindset will readjust. Because nobody wants to work 30 hours to buy one pair of sneakers, especially not today's children. They're not going to work 30 hours to buy one pair of sneakers. We keep complaining about how the children are spoiled. We always say the children. It's ours too. A lot of I've sat here many times and told you about my experiences. I always walk you through my experiences. I built a lot of boundaries around myself lately, so my children are not able to cross my boundaries. I want to be treated with respect. In the olden days, when things happen, I would just let it go when my son talks to me about, right? It got to a point I wasn't going to allow that to happen. And what also happens is that when you as a mother see everybody growing above you, and you start to give them some respect that they haven't earned. So because you're now pandering to them, instead of speaking the truth to them, they now see themselves as this king that you guys already told them they are. So you tell your sons they're kings, you're the man of the house. The boy is 10 years old, you're telling him he's the man of the house. Haba. So now he starts strutting around and telling you how to do things, when to do things, and what you can and cannot do. In the meantime, your husband that you sacrificed your whole existence, or your wife, if you're a lesbian, like I said, lesbians don't usually have this problem because it's woman to woman relationship, but that's a whole nother story. But while you have sacrificed your life for your husband to go to school and become better, while you stayed the same, the woman that he was attracted to, sometimes is no longer what his palette is wanting. Because now he has a master's degree. His vocabulary has changed. Yours is still the same. He doesn't care. He wants somebody that can challenge him mentally. He wants somebody that has high self-esteem, which you don't have because you gave up your life. You became the doormat for everybody else, right? Now your husband has left you and he's gone to be with Peperempe because Peperempe is exactly what he wants, forgetting that you helped him to get where he got. Now your children, you now focus all your energy, you substitute that space, that erotic, romantic space with your children. Now you start telling your children they're the king of the house. You're the man of the house. And when they start behaving like the man and the queens of the house, we get upset. We get upset. I learned that the hard way because I experienced it. My daughter has a master's. I don't. All of a sudden, she started to booga all over the place. I paid the rent. I paid the electric. I paid the gas. I struggled. At one point in my life, I was very comfortable. And when I was comfortable, everything was cool. But when things turned, when 2008, when the pendulum swung the opposite direction for the real estate market, all of a sudden, my daughters, who I had done everything for, I remember going to one of my daughters one day, I can never forget, and I did a 3-week show on this because I was broken. And I needed to pay the rent. And I went up to her and said, look, I have X amount of dollars. Can you just give me like $200-300? I'll give it back to you on Monday when my next check comes in. She's like, I have money, but I don't have the money for you. I have the money for my bills. Life lesson, Busa. And I don't blame her. I don't blame my child because my child saw me sacrificing myself, my money for everybody around me. I paid people's mortgages, I paid people's bills, even though I was struggling myself. Anybody that phoned me and said they needed, I gave to them. I didn't know how to say no. See, boundaries. At some point, we as women have to start to look at ourselves. Do I want children, first of all? Negotiate upfront. Tell your partner if you're going to have children, if you want children. Why do you want children again? Are you looking for a bandage for the brokenness in you? Or are you really looking to produce a person that's going to contribute to society? Because what a lot of us have done, guilty, is have children to fill a hole. So now when you have children to fill a hole, you start feeling some kind of need for them to serve you, as opposed to building, being their coach. You now want to be their friend. Go outside and get your own friend. Your children are not supposed to be your best friends till they get older, till you've given them the tools, till you've taught them compassion, till you've taught them responsibility, till you've trained them to be responsible adults. So no, everything that we've allowed them to get away, when it turns on us, we're upset. So the woman that I met in this private Facebook group, her kids are being disrespectful, are being rude, just to her. When they're out, nobody believes that they're that way. So I said to her, I said, okay, may I ask questions? How did they get there? What did you do? How did you prepare them? She's like, oh, I gave them everything they wanted. I said, stop. That's part of the problem. When you give people that everything they want and they have not earned, they get a sense of entitlement. That's why a lot of the kids today have no respect for anybody. They lack grit because they have never had to work for anything. And in the 2000s, if you remember, 2000s, 2000s, that whole decade, it was all about, oh, they're killing our black sons in America. So we cradled our sons. Half of them are now bomb boys. They're living in their parents' basement. They can't even hold their own apartments. We have failed as human beings. We've failed as parents. We've failed as coaches. See, your children can become your best friend later when they're adults. But while they're growing, while they're little people that you brought into the world from around age 6, you need to start giving them chores in the house. You need to start making them do things, cook, clean, age-appropriate duties. Take the garbage out. Boy or girl, it doesn't matter. There's no gender specifications as far as I'm concerned. Because I grew up with a father that thought the boys were like to be put on a pedestal and the women, we were just supposed to do housework and stuff, right? I tell you, I look around me and I see a lot of madness, even in my own home. I remember talking to my youngest son one day. I'm trying to have small conversation because, he spends all day on the computer with God knows who. So I tried to have this conversation with him. He goes, I don't do small talk. I shrunk to this big. Me, real estate person, me, that I tell people how to spend millions and millions of dollars a day. My son looked at me and said, I don't do small talk. Because I'd allowed him to think he's very smart. I'm not saying he's not intelligent, but the boy is lazy as hell. Never had a job in his life. Nothing you tell him to do that he does right. But, because they tell you, oh, you have to nurture them. Everybody in America goes to the football field. Every team gets a trophy. Life is not like that. You have to teach them how to earn things. You have to teach them how to respect you, because then they don't go to school and beat up the teacher because they beat you up at home. They don't go to school and disrespect authority. They don't go outside and the policeman says stop. And they disrespect the policeman because they disrespect their mothers at home. And people are me. I already know it. You're going to come at me and say, why are you always talking to single parents? Why are you always talking to single parents? Because there's a yin to a yang. When there's somebody else, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, when there's somebody else in the house that is looking through at the world through a different lens, because I already have this theory that biological mothers, we suffer from something called stupiditis. I repeat, we suffer from something called stupiditis, which is contracted through the umbilical cord to your child. That even if your child is a serial killer, you always see the tiny little baby that came out of you, right? And there's this compassion and empathy and all of that we feel. It took me 6 months to get out of that stupiditis mode. It took me, I repeat, 6 months after this boy has broken me down and told me all kinds of things about myself and how this. I had a friend last week telling me that her child walked up to her and said, "You're being irresponsible." Irresponsible, ke. I am so irresponsible. I would have told that child, "You're living in my house that I pay for. You're living in my house that I feed you. The car you're driving, and me buy them." Because we never taught them how to respect us. We never taught them how to own their own life. You have to give them boundaries. Well, the way I am, I'm so gangster. Because I have had the opportunities to be with other people's children. Me, that I thought my child was bad. Honey, a lot of kids are worse. Worse. A young boy was standing in front of me in the mall the other day and saw a pair of sneakers. I run 3 businesses. I looked at the sneakers. They were $250. I put it down. Right there in front of me, this little boy picked up the phone. Spanish boy picked up the phone, had his mother on speakerphone on FaceTime. "Oh, mommy, I want this. This couldn't be more than 16 years old. $250. It's not that I don't have $250, but I'm not making anybody rich. And if I'm gonna buy it, it's because I deserve it." This little boy called the mother that looked like she was a house cleaner or something, and asked for the pair of shoes, $250. And she said, "Okay." She'll sell him the money. 200, that's 25 hours at $10 an hour. I now know to tell the boy, "Go, look, I don't even mind meeting you halfway. I will meet you halfway. You pay half, I pay half." That way they take care of it. Because anything you don't work for, you just treat it yaffing yaffing. You don't treat it with respect. You don't take care of it. Nothing. So at the end of the day, we have to do better. We can't continue. Go to TikTok and see how these young Nigerian people are abusing their parents, abusing us. They make fun of our accents. You don't understand the suffering that we suffered to get you to be able to become American citizens. We could have stayed home where we have house girls, house boys, we have family around. But no, we came here so that the children can have a better life. But we never taught them. See, the mistake I made, and I bet a lot of you made it, right? Karina, I see your comment. The part of the mistake I made, I never took my children to the village. My father, we lived in Lagos. We lived in Ikoyi, in fancy places, fancy houses. My father took us back to the village and we had to work in the village before we could travel anywhere for the summer. I went to school in the village, high school, guilty, village. That taught me humility. It taught me responsibility. It taught me compassion. It taught me empathy. That's part of the reason why I am who I am today. And I forgot to give that class to my children. As a matter of fact, I tried too hard to give them the things that I thought I lacked. They showed me pepe. A lot of children are showing their parents pepe. How do we negate this? How do we stop this? Stand up with your full chest and start telling them your story. Because a lot of times we don't tell our children our walk. When things got really hard, I sold my Louis Vuitton bags. I sold my Chanel bags. I sold everything. I sold my Mercedes. I sold everything, honey, to be able to keep a roof over our heads in a nice, safe neighborhood. I went from living in a 3,000 square foot house, housekeeper, nanny, everything, to being homeless for 7 months. No shame in my game, honey. I sold everything. A few years later, my daughter comes to me to try and borrow a bag that I had sold many years ago. And I said, don't you remember I sold it? She's like, "Mommy, you didn't tell us." That's why they always thought I had it like that. But, everything has to be age appropriate. But we have to start to train our children to see us as human beings. We have to stop making ourselves the sacrificial lamb. There's some sacrifices that we have to make when they're little. And I need you to please, in the name of God, stop calling your children children after the age of 7, start calling them little people, because part of society's way of brainwashing women is to allow them to believe their children, even at 60, 40, are children. Children, they're not children. They're people we brought into the world. See, when you see your the people you brought into the world as children, you infantilize them. That's why you find a 40-year-old man living in the basement of his mother or his father, because they're children. So we infantilize that. We need to stop infantilizing people we bring into the world. We need to start to empower them, that they are people and they need to learn how society rolls. They need to learn how to feed and fend for themselves. If you want to help your child, please don't pay full tuition. You pay half, make them get a student loan or a job. My wife and I paid full tuition for our son. He was there for 3 months. He didn't go to class for 1 whole month. When I call the school, they don't tell me, because he's an adult. When I call the school to ask how he's doing, they won't tell me. When I call for results, they won't tell me without his permission for a whole month. The boy got kicked out of school. He left home with 3.8. I have no shame, because I used to be ashamed, because that was a reflection on me as a human being. Honey, no, it's a reflection on him, because this boy had all the opportunities in the world to do very well. His stepmother is one of the biggest doctors in the world. His other mother, his biological mother, that's me. I'm a very successful realtor. I'm almost 60, so I'm pivoting into training people on how to build wealth for free. Can you imagine? And investing in their own life. How in the world do I have a kid that has seen me get up in the middle of the winter, putting door knockers on doors in New York, $100 a day? I used to do every day in New York, in the winter, in the summer, in the spring. That's how I built my business. How did he see me doing that? But he did not get up to go to school. Let me tell you how. Let me tell you how. I looked at my wife one day. I said, maybe people have to stop living La Viva Loca. Don't live big until your children leave your house. Like, live in a small house until the children leave, then you go and buy a big house. Because I remember one day, the boy walks up to me one day. He's in high school. He walks up to me. Shade, this boy walks up to me and says, is my name on the deed? I'm like, why? Are you looking to kill us? Because why would you're not paying mortgage. You're not paying anything. You just assume your name is on the deed. Why? Because I made life too easy for him. Way too easy. See, my oldest daughters, when I was building my business, they were there. They were answering the phone. We were there together. When I was building the business, by the time I got to the last one, things went astray, but he was too young to understand. And then when I started coming back again, it was there. And by the time I met my wife now, they don't knock. So we have to create boundaries. We have to create things for them to suffer over. Make them cut the grass before you give them commission. What do they call it? Pocket money. I even have a friend. I have a friend that's a gazillionaire. She doesn't give her children pocket money. She said, everything they need is here. If they want to earn extra money, they can come to me and we'll negotiate. The woman is a billionaire. And you and I are struggling. And we're giving these children everything they want. Why? These white people that we're trying to mimic. I've been around a lot of filthy rich white people. Filthy. As in helicopter pads on their ranch in Texas. Oil barons and baronesses. When they come into Houston from their village, wherever they are, they take an helicopter, they bring them in, land on their own personal private pads. I've been around them. You should see how strict they are with their money. There's this theory, an older man, who was about 78. There's a story he told me. He said his grandfather told him. He said the first generation immigrants, they do very well, they work very hard, they strive very hard, they grow, they become gazillionaires in America. The second generation, they become lackadaisy. By the time the third generation gets the money, poof, it finishes. That's why most people set up trusts. But we just want to give them everything yafun yafun because we didn't have it. Because, oh, I had to go and fetch water. Now they can just do whatever they want because I had to, whatever you don't have, you want to give to them. It's not the way life works. So my worth is no longer attached to the people that I bring to the world because I now know that it's a 50-50 luck of the draw with each child. Some children are assertive. Some children you can train and mold. Some children will never take home training. They need to go outside and experience hard life. When I told my son to go to his father, who lives in a 2-bedroom house with God knows how many people thought I was being mean. Today I hear he has a job. Today I hear he's going to school. You have to have love. You have to love your children enough to let them go. You have to love your children enough to have those difficult conversations with them, or else life will teach them. Life will teach them. They'll be 40 years old and not understanding the facts of life. The facts of life is, you must be self-sufficient. You must be. You must be compassionate to a certain extent, not become Mumu Dondi. Don't be like Muji that wants to save the world. Pick your own passion. The third thing is that you must be assertive. To be a go-getter. You know, when you do everything for your children, then they get to work and they do bare minimum, then they don't promote them, and you'll say it's because they're black. Oh, it's because we're black. Don't let me even have that conversation today. I can't tell you the number of Black Americans that complain to me about how life is treating them. I look at them, I laugh. There will always be racism. There's racism across the world, but sadly, a lot of people don't travel, so they don't see it. There's racism across the world. How do you negate that? Get all the certifications, get the education, get the grit, do more than is necessary. That's the way life is. When they told me at Century 21 I would not make a check for the first 6 weeks, I said, I'm Nigerian. That's not possible. I looked at the whole business structure and said, hey, I went into real estate to help people. Who are the people that need the most help? Low-income buyers. I focused on that, and that's how I made it. You cannot expect your children to go through life without going through hardships or some kind of challenges, and then they'll make it. You cannot expect your children not to respect you at home, but now they'll respect the teachers. Teachers are quitting in America like crazy. Teachers are quitting their jobs. They're leaving. They don't want to teach your children anymore because your children don't yama. How did that happen? And you're going to ask me, somebody just sent me a back channel, why are you always ragging on Black women? 50% of Black homes are allegedly headed by Black women. I repeat, 50% of Black homes allegedly is headed by Black women, and I'll find an article to support that. So if 50% of Black women are raising their children by themselves, and the children are coming out the way they're coming out, forget the Oyibo children with all their day-dem and all kinds of jabujantis. Let's just focus right now. We have given people too many rights that they never earned. You know, the best video I've ever watched in my life that sets my head straight. I was watching a video of Maya Angelou one day. She's doing a talk. And about a 17 or 15-year-old girl gets up and says, Maya. Miss Maya Angelou said to her, you have not earned the right to call me by my first name. Address me by Miss Maya. That was a class that girl took, Busa, on the spot right there. I even learned from it many, many years ago. We continuously give our children rights they have not earned. If you have not earned the right to call me by my first name, I'm not your age mate. I've been telling, I used to allow people to call me until one girl abused me and dragged me on Clubhouse. Now, I'm almost 60. If I want to, I will give you permission to call me Moji when we get there, when you have shown me who you are. But from now on, anybody younger than me, you can only call me Auntie Moji because you have not earned the right to call me by my first name. That's a class I took from Miss Maya Angelou. And the reason why we have to understand that respecting people from a young age by telling your children not to call somebody by their first name I learned in a small town called Giddens, where every white person I met called me Miss. And we have this misconception that in Texas, everybody's racist. It's not true. Respect is earned. The way you comport yourself and carry yourself, people will either respect you or use you like a doormat because you don't have boundaries. So to all you single mothers, to all you mothers and fathers out there, enough. I believe my generation has destroyed society, the future of the world, because we have raised a bunch of self-entitled, arrogant, lazy, unproductive children. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Look around you. I've spent a lot of time with kids, and just ordinary thank you. You do something for them, you give them something, you have to tell them to say thank you. You have to remind them to say thank you. That's the parental jobs. And a lot of these kids are so manipulative. I remember every time my son wanted something, he'll come and hug me and kiss me. So one day he came to hug me and I said, "What do you want?" My wife looked at me and said, "Yeah, the only time he talks to me and hugs me is when he wants something. So what does he want? Don't do that manipulative thing you do." I said, "What do you want?" And then he told me exactly what he wanted. I said, see to my wife. And I didn't give it to him because the class there was, when you want something, ask. You don't have to manipulate people. Don't hug them. That's how you start doing the jiggy jiggy with women, because you want something from them, right? So no, don't come here and hug me for that, right? It's really sad. Shade says it's the parents now that do not teach their children respect anymore. It's ridiculous. But remember, we keep saying the parents now. It is the parents now, but there is a problem. Remember, there was a generation of kids that were having children at 12 and 13. If you've been in America that long, you'll remember. A lot of these kids now, I'm almost 60. I'm not a grandmother yet. Most of my friends that are grandmothers are in their 40s, in their 30s. Their daughters are like 30 and 20, 26, 27. So we went through a period where children were having children. They themselves were not grown enough in America, if you remember. People were having children, and then, there was a pandemic of children being born to teenagers. So the mother is 15, the child is, the mother is 30, the child is 15. So they're growing together. They're learning together. And because the mother had a child at such a young age, she's going to lose out on a lot unless she's surrounded by people that can help her grow. If we don't start to teach our children responsibility, compassion, empathy, and respect, they will dog us, because we will be their training ground. When you make yourself into a doormat and you have sons, every woman he meets, he will want a woman like his mother, who cooks and cleans and, does everything for him. That's not sexy. Half of these men are still living at home. Why? Kick them out. Kick them out. Why are these people you bring into the world still living in your house? If they're going to live in your house, charge them rent. Nigerians will go, "Oh my God." Yes, charge them rent. You're teaching them money management. Half the time you don't need their money. I sent $300 a month to my father for years. The man didn't need my money. I just wanted him to know, you spent money on my education here. Maybe it was my ego. I don't know. But charge them rent. Make them pay their rent. When my father said to all of us, his children, "I am not leaving you anything. The only thing I owe you is your education," we thought he was joking. The man, Pafka, he didn't leave us a kobo. Thank God he had set us up with the mindset to work hard and to do whatever it takes, right? Within reason, to become who we are. He always said, you stay in school, education is all I owe you. You can read as much as you want. We all had to have a job. So then why is it that we're now in America and we're making lackadaisy choices for our children? We have to do better, folks. We really have to do better. If your children are in your house and they're 15, 16, tell them to get a job for their own needs. Charge them 10% of the electric. As soon as they start paying the electric bill, you see them flipping off the light when they're walking out of rooms. I did that with my 2 daughters, and it worked. Before, everybody would turn on the lights, watching 5 TVs in 10, in 5 different spaces and all that. As soon as I made them to start paying part of the utility bills, the bill went down because now they turn off the electric. Now they monitor how they're using the washing machine. They're not washing one shirt. The water bill went down. That's part of teaching your children how to be responsible human beings. But when we spoil them because we love them, oh my God, I love my kids. I'm telling you, I love them. But one thing I will no longer do is be anybody's doormat. Because if I allow myself to be the doormat, then their girlfriends, their wives, their cousins, their friends are going to partake in that as well. And the worst part is, when you spoil your child inside the house and you unleash them onto society, you send them to school and they're rude and crass, disrespect to the teachers, you're hurting society. You're not helping to raise a better world. That's all the time I have today. That's all the energy really I have today. My name is Mojisola Wilson. I want you to take 3 things. That's all I ask you. 3 things away. And no matter where you find yourself on the spectrum today, if you're like me, that spoiled my last son, I don't know. You and I can do better. I changed my lenses, made it more clear to be able to see the truth, because the truth hurts. You and I can do better. First thing first, give them responsibilities in your home. I've been saying this for many years. I've brought you along the journey, my journey, and I hope you will share this with other friends of yours. Give them responsibility in your home. Have them take out the garbage if they're too young to have a job and help you with the rent. I don't care how rich you are, don't make them a car. Make them buy their own car, or give them half of the money and make them work for the other half. Watch how they appreciate it. The most important piece is respect. Teach them how to respect you, respect themselves, so that when they go out, that respect goes everywhere they go. And no matter how bad society is, when you respect yourself, there's some situations you don't expose yourself to. There's some people you will not mingle with when you start to respect yourself. And I get it. A lot of us mothers, we suffer from stupiditis. But honey, I'm in my 60s. I'm going to be 60 next year. And I'm finally learning how to love me and accept me. It's been a long journey. Today is the day for you to start. Look at your life and say, hey, I've given up too much of my life for other people. It's my turn. It's my turn to be all I can be, because we only have one chance in life. When that light switch goes off and it's time to go, you don't want to be one of those people that said, oh my God, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, because you wasted your time on people that have so much more time than you. Think about it. Help to create a better world by helping to breed and raise better children, who now turn into people, hopefully that will be productive and help to create a better world as well. My name is Mojisola Wilson. It's been a great conversation. If you got any value out of this today, please do me a favor and share the video to your pages, share it amongst your friends. Have these conversations with your friends, because me and you, 5 people just talking about this is not enough. This is a conversation that needs to go around. So even if you have to have the conversation with your friends, please do. We need to start to spread the message. I hope to see you next Wednesday. If there's a topic you want me to talk about, send it to me in my back channel. My name is Mojisola Wilson. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.